Welcome back to Carfection and a bit of a bonus episode. Hopefully by now you've seen our interview with Gordon Murray all about the new T33, but we asked him a few other questions in there, and also we cut that interview sort of down just a little bit to keep it, well, sort of vaguely manageable, around 40 minutes. And so where I went off topic, well, yeah, I thought we'd put that into a different film, just in case you're interested. So we asked him about his new site, so where the car's being built, where we filmed that in an underground car park there, and about T50, how that's getting on, and then, well, mule cars as well, and names for those. We went slightly off topic, but yeah, hope you enjoy this. We've obviously just talked about T33, but I thought as we're here and we've got you, we ought to have a catch up on a few other bits and pieces sort of surrounding. So starting with, I think, where we are, because this is we used to, obviously the Peasmarsh where you started out down there, and then there's Dunsfold, but now there's this new site for you. So just explain the new home for GMA.
Yeah, so this is going to be our new home. Yeah, so we're at Windlesham on a 54-acre 18th century parkland, and the reason why we launched 33 here is because this car will be the first car built on this facility, or at this facility. Quite a few years back now, we started, the classic building spread. I went through it at McLaren, and we're going through it again, where Shelford we started with 1, then we had 2, then 3. Dunsfold we built a building, and now we've got 3 at Dunsfold, and we're running out of space again, So about 4 or 5 years ago, we started seriously talking about we should find somewhere and build an HQ where we can all be back together, because the communication suffered dreadfully, not just from a business point of view, but from a personal point of view. It's nice to be all together. And we were lucky enough just under 2 years ago to buy this site, and we got planning permission last February, and we started actually digging up the ground this month here. So we'll be slowly over the next 3 years moving here. The first building, which we've started, as I say, will be automotive. So that'll be manufacturing, heritage, sales. That's quite a big, long building, and a test track. And the test track will be finished in June this year, and the building will be finished early next year. And then as the last T50S rolls off the line at Dunsfold, the first 33 will be on the line here.
What do you look for in a test track? I'm intrigued to know what your thoughts are.
It's actually what we would call a squeak and rattle. So it's a post-production track. So it doesn't have to be huge. Right. I think it's about 700 meters, something like that. And it's got left and right hand corners. It's got a chicane for braking. It's also got, on the straight, you spear off, and there's 4 different surfaces for squeaks and rattles. So you've got single wheel bumps, you've got sine wave, you've got a few potholes and things like that. So every single car we build will run around that. I first saw that in the Smart factory years ago in Hambach, where I couldn't believe it. Every single little Smart they built, they took out, and there was about 150 meters, I think it was, of rumble strip. And every single car ran round, and the ones that passed went left, and the ones that had a squeak went right. And I thought, for all your rolling roads in the big factories, you can't beat actually just running the thing on the road. And of course, taking customer cars out on public roads is never a good idea. And you've got gravel and mud and all that sort of stuff there. So we'll have everything under our control.
That Smart factory's just been bought by Ineos, I think, isn't it, for the Grenadier?
Has it?
I think so. Yeah, I think they're doing that. And you've designed the buildings for here as well?
Yes, I love designing. I've designed lots of houses and buildings in my time, so I did all the original ethos, and of course we work with architects. We were a really good bunch of architects as well, but yeah, I did all the original layouts for the buildings. We've got a very unique engineering. We'd love to show you when it's that's the next building, that's phase 2, but a very unique engineering and design office layout where each design office literally sits above the car that's being built, and I don't think anybody else on the planet's got that, and it's something I wanted to do since the McLaren days, really, and that'll be good fun.
It's a fascinating site just to wander around. It's obviously sort of been empty for a little bit, but it's just really...
So nice, yeah, and I can start my soapbox Grand Prix again. I'll after 25 years of having it in France and having to stop, I've already designed the starting ramp.
Fantastic. We should probably have a chat about T50 and just how it's going, where you're up to, how has it been affected by everything that's happened in the last couple of years?
Yeah, so our original plan was production this year. Actually, that was always our plan. And we're still on track for production this year, barring disasters, of course. We have had hold-ups in two areas. We've had COVID-related hold-ups with supply chain and with our own staff too, but not so much. We're being very, very careful at work. But the biggest one with us was, the biggest problem was not being able to travel earlier this year. So we had prototypes running from January, February time, but we couldn't go anywhere. So we've done as much as we can at Millbrook. We've got a sort of a semi-permanent garage up there. That's all the early engine mapping, emissions testing. We've also done stuff we can do in chambers like electronic emissions and stuff like that, EMC, stuff like that. What's really held us up is not being able to do hot and cold testing. Now that we can travel again, that's all kicking off. We've now built, I think, 11 prototypes running. 10 or 11 prototypes we've got running, so they're all ready to go, but that of course has caused us a few months delay. So barring any supply chain disasters, and there are some even raw materials at the moment that we can't get our hands on, even things like aluminium are scarce at the moment, believe it or not. Barring supply chain disasters, we'll definitely be in production this year, and we're hoping as early as summer.
One thing I was going to ask, actually, talking of George, which was the, for people that don't know, was obviously the test mule for T50. Is there another mule for T33 with a name?
They'll always have names.
Yes.
This time, though, we're not, because we're designing the frame in-house and the monocoque in-house. We'll probably just have an early version of that, an unfinished car, if you like, for the mule cars. I think we've got two planned. Whether we normally only give the mules names if they're based on a kit car or something, and they're not. But it might still be fun to do that. We'll see.
Where do the names come from?
They're British kings, English kings. They're kings. Yeah, we started with Edward and Albert.
Yes.
Yeah, and that was a joke actually, because there was we were sitting in the Brown Room at the beginning of the F1 program in 1990. And there had been another sports car company just down the road who built something called a Solo. They only made a couple of them. Quite a nice looking little thing with rotating lamp. Anyway, they put out a video, and there was a part of the film that said, we looked outside and we saw the name of the road and we used that for something or other. And so I said in the meeting, I said, well, that's Albert Drive. So the first mule's going to be Albert. And then somebody said, King Albert. So that's how it all started. And that tradition has stayed. That we had Lizzie I and Lizzie II, the English queens, for our T25 mules and T27 mules. So it's a tradition. We even make a nice little badge for the front.
In terms of T50, have many people spec'd their cars yet? Have you got?
We're just coming up for halfway through the spec sessions. As many as possible we're trying to do live, obviously, because we have a seating buck and we fit everybody to the car. Pedal positions, steering column positions, and the car gets built, just like the F1. The car gets built. Even the seat foams are done for the owner. And we're doing the same thing with 33, so there'll be, it's only 100 people again. So there'll be a seating buck where we make sure you're absolutely comfortable. You know, if you're trying to sell driving perfection, you have to have the ergonomics right. You know, how many cars, I mean, we're both tall, how many cars have you jumped in and it completely wrecks the experience when you're just not sitting correctly, you know?
Have you had any specs that have been sort of, I don't want to give away people's personal sort of ideas, but any that have surprised you, any sort of thought, oh, actually?
You know, so far, not really. And so far, the specs have all been very sophisticated. Interesting. It's really interesting, actually. I think 50, when you look at the car in the flesh as opposed to the pics and the videos, every single person and when we pull the cover off and they've seen it for the first time, they go, oh, it's so much better in the flesh. And it makes such a statement. And also, if you saw it at Goodwood, you know, it's fine seeing a press picture, but when you see the car in the context of the real world and running, the car makes such a good statement, road presence, let's call it. It's not outrageous styling, but it has a lot of road presence. I don't think you need to be flash with it, and that's what we're seeing with 95% of the owners so far. They're quite restrained, actually. But on the other hand, really getting into the detail.
Because you can choose an awful lot with the stitching.
Anything you like. On 50, the cars are so hand built. They take 5 weeks to put together, so you can literally have anything you like.
One other thing that I thought I would ask Gordon about is what was on his wrist, because last time I interviewed him about T50, a website called Hodinky, which if you like watches you'll know all about. James Stacey spotted that Gordon was wearing a Tag Heuer Carrera caliber 5 in that, so I thought I'd ask him this time what he was wearing, and it was quite interesting.
Coincidentally, I've got it's a watch I designed with Tag Heuer for the F1. With F1, and we had each chassis number on the back.
And is it titanium?
No. I think it's just stainless, but it's got the V12 in the actual forging.
There we are then, a little bit of watch information for you. I hope you enjoyed that. As I say, it seems a shame not to hear the other things that Gordon talked about whilst we were down there. It's been interesting reading all your comments about T33. It's clearly divided opinion in terms of the looks. Some think it's too simple, even sort of derivative, 260s perhaps. Others think it's absolutely beautiful. I'm in the latter camp there, and I think part of that's because I've seen it in the carbon fibre. And I think it was the same with T50 when that was at Goodwood's. People were perhaps surprised. You heard Gordon refer to it there when owners have seen the car for the first time with the sheets being taken off, that it is more striking in its simplicity when you see it out in the real world. Anyway, thank you very much again for watching Carfection. Please do remember to subscribe to the channel. Hopefully at some point we will drive T50 and T33, and obviously you don't want to miss out on that. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you next time.